Why, hello, YouTube. Welcome back. This is BalorMage, and today we're going to go over how we've been making all of our money. Nem3 has been around for a little while, called Nem3 farming, which is what we're seeing on screen right here, which is basically a super juiced map that we probably average 1.5 exalts per map profit, and it probably costs maybe an exalt per map to launch, probably a little under. It's hard to gauge because I buy everything in bulk, but you make tons of profit doing this. This is the kind of thing where you will see me run a filter that hides everything except maps, uniques, and raw exalted orbs, and run the map like that, and then walk back through it to loot all the raw currency with a different filter, because it's actually just a disgustingly large amount of currency. This is probably one of the best solo farming things you can do without having like the most disgusting character. So there are other things you can do. There's delirium mirror farming and tier 19 delirium cluster orb farming and things like that. But that's not something everyone can do, whereas everyone who can afford to set up Nem3 can set up Nem3 and run these maps, and it's perfectly fine. So we're gonna jump in game real quick. All right, so the basic idea behind Nemesis 3 is the sextant role. Nemesis monsters drop 3 additional basic currency items. Now, I don't have any of those right now, but what I do have is a whole bunch of watchstones. Now, this is relatively expensive to get going, but you could probably start it with, I want to say under 10x. So what we have been rolling for is Abyss, Beyond, Hunted Traders, and the Nemesis 3 stone. And we're rolling them only in the Greenwich Cairns area. And I have taken all the Beyond nodes and this for Abyss. The Abyss monsters in areas spawn 100% monsters or whatever. You mix that with the Gilded Abyss Scarab. You can just use Polished, but Gilded is better. And you get a lot of mobs out of the Abysses in there. Then I run an Elder Scarab, a Metamorph Scarab, because the Metamorph at the end of the map, you can put that anywhere in the map you want, so you put it near a bunch of Beyond portals so it spawns more and more rares, and that gives, if you spawn Beyond portals, an extra 25 rares ish per map, so that's really good. But people are like, how? Oh, I also run a Blight Scarab, but I ran it out of those. And people are often like, how do you roll these? So I am not an expert in Nem3. There may be other guides around, but this is what I've been doing. It did farm me a Headhunter in 3 very casual days, and we're going to go back to it to make more money. However, to make it work, we do want to block. So what we want to block is 2 of the generic add monsters to maps. So lightning, chaos, physical, cold, fire, those ones. We want to block 2 of them and 1 of any kind of shrine, because if you've blocked 1 shrine, then you can't roll the second one. Right? And then we take our watchstones and we put them in the 4th slot on their own to roll them, where we just sit here and we spam this until we get 1 of the things we're after. Right? And these generally don't take a super large amount. It does feel weird. There it is, Nem3. It does feel weird to roll over sextants like that, but you maintain sextants. I have not bought sextants once. So that hit Nem3. And so we're looking for Hunted Traders, Abyss, Beyond, and Nem3. However, what you're going to want to do is have a handful of stones to start with. So the best ones are Fraught Stones. Slaying enemies together in area has 1% chance to attract monsters from the Beyond. That's the best one, but those are 5x a piece. I've only got 1 of them currently. The much cheaper ones are Demonic. Beyond portals have a 6% chance to spawn an additional Beyond mob. And you want them ideally in all 4 stones. However, you're going to need more than 4 stones. So if you can afford to buy, 10 or 15 of them to sit in your stash, trust me, it's worth it. Or if you buy up to that, that's 100% worth it too. However, what I have ended up doing is I have over the time bought additional unique stones of the add random prefix or add random suffix variety, because I was able to run cannot regen and reflect on that build. I will have to maybe rethink, but any unique watchstone is fine, preferably ones that add quantity or mobs though. So these, War Amongst the Stars, Booming Populance, all of those, I have bought them whenever I've rolled every stone I have owned. And you'll quite often get things like, I found 400 traders and 3 beyond maps and 5 abyssals, but I haven't got the NEM 3 rolled yet. When that's the case, I will buy a stone with NEM 3 and 4 uses on it for 1.2x and just use that with my other ones. The idea is to be as efficient as possible. So you roll all the stones you have to try and get the 4 things you're after, but then you don't roll over the good things that you want, which is why we need like a collection of stones. These are all roughly as rare as each other, but the issue being you do need all 4 of them at once. So just having 4 stones generally isn't enough. You generally need to buy a decent portion of them. That being said, to start this strategy, you can do it with the normal stones that are in the Atlas. You don't, and then in your first few maps, you will make enough profit to start buying the demonic ones, right? If you run 4 maps on normal stones, you'll be able to afford 2 demonic stones. And then if you run 4 more, you'll have all 4 of your demonic stones. Then if you run 4 more with demonic stones in, you'll be able to afford to buy another 4 demonic stones. And now you've got 8, and now you've started to got a pool to work with, right? And you just continually keep doing this. It is a lot of looting. It is a lot of looting. It is generally, I feel like I get 250 alterations per map. But definitely I average a little over 1 raw X per map. That doesn't mean every single map drops an X. I've had some maps where I drop 3, some maps where I drop 0, but on average, 1 to 1.5-ish exalts per map, and that's just doing it the way I did it. I am not an expert in this. I've only done NEM 3 farming once before. I've tried to avoid it, but frankly, it just makes way too much money to do any other thing right now. This has made me way more money than MFing. This is just going to be the way I make money for the rest of the league, or at least until I really, really gear out this next character into like a proper min-maxed juicing version of a build. Anyway, that's it. That's NEM 3. Everybody can do this. It is very easy to do. Do not be scared of spending your time and money on the sextants and the stones. If you have the money to start it, you are guaranteed to make a return. The only thing left to mention is we always put Beyond on the map device, and we always roll the maps to have Nemesis on them. That rare monsters each have a Nemesis mod. That is very, very important. So when I was running strands, so I would pull out every strand I owned, 20 or 30 strands, and I would just sit there and I would just quality them all up and then alch them all with that written there, Nemesis. And I would just alch every single one, pull out the Nemesis ones, scour them all, re-alch them, pull out the Nemesis ones, scour them all, re-alch them, pull out the Nemesis ones, scour them all. Right? Until I had a big collection of Nemesis maps and every single one of them was Nemesis. The quant on them doesn't matter. The rolls on them don't matter. As long as you can run them, they're good. And then I would apply 1 Delirium Orb to them. Frankly, you can use any Delirium Orb. You do not have to buy good Delirium Orbs. You can use literally the cheapest, most garbage Delirium Orbs. Realistically, what we're after here is just adding Delirium to the map so that you add more mobs to it. The sweet spot for Delirium is, frankly, as many orbs as you can put on that doesn't slow you down. So that's dependent on your build. 20% is mandatory. Do put a Delirium Orb on. The splinters that you get inside your maps will pay for the cheapest Delirium Orbs. They're essentially free. you will make that money back in splinters just on the ground. So the delirium orbs don't cost you anything. What you want is for them to not cost you time, right? So if you run a 20%, it's super, super easy. Run a 40%. If that's still super easy, run a 60. If that slows you down a bit, go back to 40. Run them all there, right? We're just after not getting slowed down and having delirium. And that is it. That is the whole thing. That is the entirety of NEM 3 farming. It's just way too profitable to pass up. All right. That is it for me. I will see everybody later.